Hey everybody, this is your host Jitsuko Toshiro, bringing you updates for the market. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we get started though, remember if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you enter the chance to win $100 in USDT automatically if you just subscribe. A little bit about myself. So I basically started with $3,000, was in a pretty bad token, flipped that bad token to 20,000 through trading, and now I'm on my journey to flip 20,000 to 75. So let's go ahead and dive into the charts. I like to start it off with Bitcoin. So right now we're looking at the time frame of Bitcoin on the daily, and you can see here we haven't really had much changes. One of the things I'd like to show you guys are basically the classic resistance and the range that we're playing. So here's our resistance up here, and we have another support down here, and we're pretty much playing this range right here. So there really isn't anything that happened overnight that really changed anything. One of the things I'd like to point out though is we're still pretty much bound to this resistance right here, and as you can see, that previous support is now playing the role as resistance. And you can see here we did have some support and confluence with the previous resistances that became support, and we're in this range. And this is the daily time frame. As you can see here, we have about 4 hours left on this daily. Now if we get a close underneath that black bar, you can just go ahead and say that we're just trading this range. And the less you trade in these small ranges, the more profitable you become, because this is such a tight gap that there really isn't much to make over here. So take a look. This range right here is about 1%. It's not worth the risk of 1% just to capitalize off this range. I wouldn't recommend trading it. I would just wait this out. So let's look at the 4 hour. Maybe we can get some hints as to where it's going to take us. Remember, I told you guys that this might be a very tricky play. And the reason being is because you can have a lot of fake outs. As you saw here, we had a fake out here, and now we're still hovering, and we're basically range bound. The thing with tight ranges is you can't really do much. One thing I'd like to point out, so take a look here. These volume indicators on the 4 hour give you hints as to where we're going to move. So let's take a look here. This is a volume candle that's bigger than the rest, right? So take a look. This volume candle, basically this rising volume, told us that we're going to have some follow through to the downside. But then we reversed, obviously. But now we're getting another hint. There's a huge amount of selling volume here at this resistance. So this might be a hint that we might close the day a little lower. But on the 4 hour time frame, it doesn't really tell you much other than we're just range bound. Remember, this range is only 1%. I wouldn't trade it. I would just sit and wait for a perfect setup. Kind of on the macro scale, I am bearish. On the micro scale, I am a little maybe bullish. I think we can get up here if we try. But other than that, no changes to Bitcoin. Let's take a look at Ethereum. So Ethereum is doing well, actually. It's holding up both of its ranges. As you can see here, this previous resistance is now its new support. So we might be inching for a leg up. So take a look at that. And so this is basic just charting on levels. The price action speaks for itself. So the thing with trading Ethereum right now is we're still in this tight little range. There really isn't clear direction of where we're going to go. But look at this. This is something I wanted to point out. If we do have a leg up and we end up having a Santa rally, so let's take a look at this. All right. So we have this descending resistance, right, on the daily time frame on Ethereum. Ethereum is trying to inch up. This is that confluence zone that I was talking about. That's a major zone of resistance. if we do chop for another, couple days, I think that we will end up in here, and we could end up meeting this resistance, whether it be here or we have a massive move like this one right here, almost like $1,000 candle all the way up to the upside. And look at this. It's in confluence with this previous support, now new resistance. So if we do get up here, it's going to basically be in confluence with this descending resistance and this horizontal resistance. So if we move to the upside, this is a beautiful short setup, and so is this. And if you do end up shorting this, I'll take it all the way down about 20% to the $1,000 range. So there is that. If we do move up, that's always a good short setup. If we move down, it's a good long setup. And you can play this range. So if we fail here, if we do fail here, remember you can long this support and then take it up to the next resistance. Although longing in the bear market is very tough, you won't make much. But you could get a 10% jump, 13% jump if you're patient. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is DXY. So DXY is the dollar index, and basically this shows you the strength of the dollar. And if the strength of the dollar increases, all risk assets and all commodities end up having an inverse relationship with the price action, meaning that the Bitcoin will go down and the rest of crypto will go down. So if you are wanting crypto to go up, you are in favor of DXY failing, and if you are in favor of crypto going down, then obviously you want a bullish dollar. The way that this is measured is basically they take the dollar index fund and they rate it against all other currencies, and that's how they establish the strength of the dollar. So take a look here. It's creating this falling wedge on the daily. This is a very bullish pattern, especially after a huge move to the upside. So if you have a huge move to the upside and then you get a correction and you consolidate like this is a very bullish pattern, and the target would be from the base and the height, and you attach it. So don't be surprised if you see the DXY retrace all the way to the 108s. That would torch all of the other commodities. Last thing I'd like to talk about is my current trade here on BitGet. And this is my BNB trade. I entered at 229 and I basically posted on Twitter, this is my gamble trade. I thought this was going to be an FTX debacle. Obviously the support held well. I am down 40% and I'm riding this all the way to liquidation. I'm just hodling this, pretty much this big L. I'm not in any other trades. So let's take a look at BNB. BNB, one thing I'd like to point out is it keeps getting these higher lows on the daily. So my short might be in jeopardy. So take a look here and here. We have higher lows and we're getting higher highs. So on the macro scale, it looks like it's flipping. A couple things I'd like to point out that might be in my favor in the short position is, so we had this massive move down, right? This move is about 25%. That's a big move. So typically when you move 20 to 30% at a time, you need consolidation. So we might just end up consolidating in this range for a couple days before we see more downside. So that's the only thing that I can see really going on with BNB. My liquidation is at 269. So it's around here. So if we do retrace to the upside, I'm pretty much screwed on this short. And then I wanted to point out, for those of you that follow me on Twitter, I did post this. And this is basically how to trade 101. So typically when you enter a short, you want to enter at resistance. And then the way you establish that is the previous support, if it flips down, becomes the new resistance. And that's a good area to enter a short. Right now we're range bound with BNB. And technically, you could profit off this support if you entered a short here. And it's about a 5 to 10% trade, so it's a pretty big trade. 8%. So if you use some leverage on that, that could be an 80% trade. It's pretty good. So this is kind of trading 101. This is the proper way to short BNB. And so that's about it. So we went over Bitcoin, Ethereum, and BNB, and the DXY. If you guys have any other coins that you want me to cover, please let me know. And remember, follow me on Twitter if you want live updates on the market. And then subscribe to my YouTube channel. So if you're here right now, smash that like button, please. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you enter a chance to win 100 USDT. And remember, if you're one of the first ones here, I hope you're enjoying the content, and I appreciate the feedback in the comments. Smash that like button if you guys appreciated this show, and if you want to see any alts or anything else on this YouTube channel, just go ahead and comment down below. Other than that, you guys have a good rest of your day. I am always active on Twitter, and that's where you can find me. So thank you for your time today.